to pray before we begin. Again, if you have your friends who are maybe waiting to join, you can just let them know that we are on. You can just maybe send chat them and tell them that they can join, and we are ready to begin. And so allow me to pray. Our Father, what in heaven, we thank you so much for this evening. Lord, we thank you so much for your grace. We thank you for bringing us together this evening, Lord. Lord, as we go through conversing today, we call upon your mighty name that may you guide us and lead us, that may you take over this meeting, Jehovah. May you open our eyes, may you open our minds, may you give us concentration, Jehovah Rapha. May you help us to understand and to learn today, King Jesus, our God. May you give us the memory and the mind to think and to answer each and every question correctly. May you see us through this session. It is in your mighty and the holy name that we pray and believe. Amen. Amen, guys. So I'll just introduce myself again. I know we spoke the first time when we began these sessions, and we introduced ourselves to you and everything else. But I'm just going to introduce myself again. Yeah. So my name is Daniel Stephen Odur. I did my KSL in 2021, I think 2022. Yeah, and it was a good experience. During our time, there was COVID, so most of the classes that we did were virtual. We had a lot of virtual classes. For me, I think I used to do morning and afternoons. We used to do morning and afternoons, and I think it was such a good experience. I know right now talking about it would look like something so new, but yeah, during that time we had virtual classes, and it worked for us, and it worked for us well. During our time, most of us were able to pass, and I think the pass mark was quite good. And the worst performed subject was LPM. Yeah, I think LPM was the problem. So many people failed LPM. But no, we give glory to God. For me, everything went well, and by the grace of God, I was able to do my exams first time and get the 9Ps, and of course, I thank God for that. And that's one thing that I wish for each and every person who is here. That's one thing that I wish for you, that may that be your portion too. That may it be just a one-time thing. You do it, and it ends, and and you're able to move on to the next thing. Now, the reason why sometimes we share these stories is just to encourage you and to tell you that it's actually possible, that it's doable, that you can do it. So the reason why we keep talking about it again is because I think there's so many stories out there where people are telling, oh, KSL is hell. If you think university is crazy, you go there. You will see the real deal there. There are no jokes or whatever. The lecturers are this, the lecturers are that, and all that stuff. And I'd just like to calm you guys down and let you know that so long as you put in the effort, man, so long as you put in the effort, you'll be able to do it. It's not rocket science. No, it's not. It's not rocket science. And one thing that, again, I can say is that the fact that you guys are here today, the fact that you've been able to join KSL, the fact that, you're able to meet the minimum grades required to join KSL means that you can actually go through KSL. It's not something that is crazy and oh my God, you've done it. It's something that you can actually do, of course, by the grace of God. And I wish you guys all the best, even as you go through your KSL. So last time, I know you guys had civil litigation, and maybe I'd just like to ask, how was it? I wasn't able to join that session. Anyone who maybe you can just say hello and just let us know how was it, so that maybe even as I go through this session today, I'm able to improve on a few things here and there. Anyone would like to just say hello to us and tell us how the class was, whether it was enjoyable, whether we can improve on this and that as we go through this session today. Anyone? Again, just like you. We were students together. We've learned a lot together. So please don't be intimidated by anything whatsoever. You can always just open up, raise up your hand and let us know what you think. So anyone would like to discuss how the class was? And whatever maybe we can improve on, or maybe how it was. Maybe you enjoyed it, maybe it was fun, maybe it was, whatever really. No problem whatsoever. Okay, I see no hands. Now, today, even as we discussed, we're going to have a lot of questions, and I want to believe that we'll be able to get the answers. It's going to be two-way traffic. Wisdom is going to flow from two sides. There's a lecturer at UON who likes saying that, Professor Sihanya. So again, today, wisdom is going to flow from two sides. All of us are going to share. All of us are going to talk about conveyancing and how it is. So one of the things that I'd like us to start with is how conveyancing is to you so far, some of the challenges that you have seen so far, and maybe any advice that you'd need moving forward. Again, I'd like to ask for a volunteer. Anyone? How is conveyancing so far? Which areas do you think are tricky? How is it basically? What's the general feeling about conveyancing? Please be free. Just be free. You can raise up your hand. You can ask a question. You can say whatever. Anyone? And Bernard, I see you've joined. Thanks for joining, Bernard. Thanks for joining us. Anyone who would like to respond? How is conveyancing so far? What's your general view? How is it really? Some of the questions that you might be having or worries before we start. Anyone, guys? Just raise up your hand. Please do not be intimidated by anything. Anyone who'd like to talk? I don't even know if I'm talking to myself. Maybe I'm talking to myself. And there's no one in this session. So it would be nice to hear from you, just so that I know that the information is being received on the other side. No one will raise up their hand. It's you who needs to raise up your hand. Go ahead, Lisa. Welcome.
Good evening. So I hope you can hear me.
Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay. So I'm having an issue with the introduction part of the conveyancing, where we have spent some or most of the time discussing about the regimes of conveyancing, like the RTA, those repealed conveyancing laws. I would like guidance on how are they necessary, or how do I approach them in relation to what we are having, the new LRA, and how, in short, how are they useful? Because I thought now that they are repealed, we don't need to dwell on that, but clearly we need to. So guidance on that area will be highly appreciated. Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you so much for for opening up and for asking that question. I think it's one of the questions that I also had when I joined KSL for conveyancing. And for us, it was the first time we were talking about conveyancing, because at the University of Nairobi, they don't teach conveyancing at undergrad. Now, I know there are so many laws in relation to this. You'll be told, oh, the government, whatever act, the RTA Act, or there's this act, there's that act. I think these acts are important to help you understand the transition where we've moved from, where we are today, and probably where we'll be going in the future, in the event that there's room, and there's always room for development. Now, most of these acts that probably you're looking at are acts that have been repealed. Now, for me, this is what I concentrated on. This is exactly how I was able to go through all these things and still manage. I think it's very important for us to understand what is happening now. Yeah. And for us to understand what is happening now, then it means that at least you should, because the exams that you're going to do, probably, or most of the questions are going to be about what is happening today. What is happening in conveyancing today? If I came to you with a problem today, how would you sort it out? Now, for you to be able to answer that question, you need to understand the laws that we have today. And that's why it's important that you understand the Land Act, and the way you've said, the Land Registration Act, the Sectional Properties Act, so that you know what is happening at this particular juncture. And every other act that is still consistent right now. Again, the Constitution and everything else. So my advice would be at least try and concentrate on what is happening now, the laws that we have now, and how they are operating. Now, if you want to understand conveyancing wholly, fully, you want to understand where we're coming from, it's very important that you just go through those acts and see what they are saying. So that when you're answering a question today, you know where you are coming from. You know the foundation. But one thing that I'd actually advice that you concentrate on the laws that we have now and how they are being used now. How do they apply today? Because those are the laws that you'll use in court. Those are the laws that you'll use to answer the questions that you have. But again, you don't want to be in a situation where someone is talking about the RTA and you're wondering, what? The Registration of Titles Act? Like what's that about? Someone is asking you about the regime during the registration of titles as well. Like, you have no idea at all, yet you're the one who says you know so much about conveyancing. So those acts are important, but they're only important to help you understand the foundations, how the regimes have moved, why right now you look at a title and the reference is so different. Why was it 1870? I don't know, stroke II, stroke VI, stroke this? Why do we have? How comes right now we have title number this Nairobi stroke this block this? So the old acts are only important for you to understand where we are coming from, the regime that we had before. But my opinion is, or my advice would be, it is very important that you focus on the laws that we have now, today, and how they affect our area, which is the conveyancing area, and how they apply to each and every question that would be posed to you. That would be my advice, Lisa, because there's so much to read that if you decide to go into details, read all these things, it might be too much for you. But at least, Lisa, have an idea that the reason as to why right now we have the Land Registration Act, and the reason as to why right now things happen in this particular manner is because we are moving from here and now we are here, and probably we are going towards this particular trajectory. So that you don't just say the law is very clear, but don't even understand why are you saying the law is clear. What's behind the law? What's the objective behind it? So those old laws are important to give you foundation and to help you know where you're coming from and the reason as to where we are today. And so as much as you read them just to be apprised of what is there and what was happening then, it is also very important it is more important that you understand what is happening now and the laws that we have now. Going through acts might be such a tedious and tough tussle. You have to go through the Land Act. I mean, there are so many provisions. So one thing that I also learned through my KSL is these are things that you just do when, you have a chilled mind, like you're just chilling. Just go through it to understand and to read and to know what is where. And if I needed to know about joint tenancy and tenancy in common, where did I see it when I went through the act? What does it say? Can I even at least remember something? So what I did personally was I didn't read it as a book that I need to know section 1 talks about this, section 45 talks about this. I just read it so that I'm apprised of what the act says. At least I know what is where, and I know what the act says. So for me, I realized that I understood more when every time I read through the act and there was something important, I noted it. So you don't have to note interpretation. Interpretation says land is this. Registration is this. But just go through it. And if you find something that is very important, maybe a definition of joint tenancy, a definition of tenancy in common, a definition of such as a definition of the types of such as that we have, a definition, things that you find quite important. Those are the ones that you can note or jot down so that at least you know what the act is about. You know the structure of the act. You know if you're looking for interpretation, you'll go towards this particular part. You know if you're looking for this, you'll go through this. So just read it just to get apprised of what is there. Just read it like that. Then with the time it starts to stick. Slowly it starts to stick. It starts because there's so much to read. Same to the Land Registration Act. Same to the legal notice, the regulations that regulate how of course, the law operates, and also the Sectional Properties Act, which I think is also very important for us. So just skim through them like that, at least now. Just skim through them. Just know what it says. At least know what is where. If you open your act, you can open it quickly, and you know where to find what. Or at least you have a picture and you can remember, oh, we are looking for the definition of joint tenancy. I remember, I think I saw it in the Land Act, and you're able to skim through the Land Act and actually get that particular definition. So I think, I don't know if you can try that, but I'm thinking at least that would work for you, because there's so much. So maybe for now, these first stages, just skim through the act and know what is where. Just try, but you don't have to have it in your mind. Section 45 this, section 46 this, oh, section 103 this, section 104 no, oh, this section 100 talks about the redemption right. Oh, section 91 of the act talks about sale through public auction. You don't have to. But the more you go through it, the more you skim through it, it sticks. It sticks. Focus on the laws that we have now. The other laws, just read through it to apprise yourself and to know what was happening then. Lisa, I don't know if that would work for you.
I'm guided. Thank you.
Welcome. Yeah. So that at least you know a bit of everything. Any other question or direction? There are so many laws. Yeah, that I know. There are so many laws, and sometimes you wonder. So let's try and focus more on the ones which apply now. But that doesn't mean we don't. That doesn't mean that we don't look at what applied earlier. We can also just skim through them and at least just to understand where we were before and where we are now. So that again, if someone asks you, what is your suggestion in relation to this act? What do you think we should improve? What is your opinion? At least you're able to answer those particular questions. Again, one thing that I can also advise, ensure that the law that you're reading or the law that you're skimming through is the latest. So go through EKLR, download the one from EKLR. I had friends who are looking at laws that were already, revised. There are sections that are already amended, but because they didn't know that, whatever they had was something so different. So they talk about Section 31, and when we go to Section 31, whatever they're talking about is not there, because whatever the version that they have is the old version and not the new version. So to get the new version, you just go to EKLR, go to Laws of Kenya. It's they're arranged there alphabetically, and you'll be able to see whatever you're looking for. Okay, any other question before we start off? Any other question? Please be free, just be free, and let's speak. Let it be like we are in parliament, and we're just asking questions here and there, just getting to know each other and whatever. Again, it also makes it easier for me to interact with you guys. Anyone wants to say something? Bernard, are you able to speak maybe? Maybe you can also answer the question that I've answered. Bernard, how are you able to deal with all these laws? How did it work for you?
Hello, good evening, Daniel and the team. I'm happy to be part of this session, and thank you for acknowledging my presence. Now, to add on to what you have elaborated on the need, now you will find that there are so many laws touching on the issue of land in Kenya. So Lisa, you don't need to be worried so much onto that, but the importance of having to know of those laws is that you need to appreciate the historical aspect of the land regimes in the country, so that, for instance, if you are talking about the aspect of conversions, or if you are talking about government lands, you'll be able to understand what was the legal framework upon which those lands were based on. Now, further, there are also different tenures of land, like leaseholds and freeholds. Now, for you to understand, when you only come to the Land Act 2012, you'll not be able to properly comprehend what was the framework before then that governed the different forms of land tenure, so that now, as you attempt the questions using the current law, you also need to have that background on the laws. Yeah, that's it, Mr. Daniel.
Thank you, and thank you, Bernard. It's nice. It's great to have you on standby, man. It's great because I know we have questions here today from this class. Guys, please don't be the quiet class. Let's interact. Any other question before we begin? We have all the time, guys. We have all the time. That should not worry you. Anything? How is conveyancing? You can even answer. How is conveyancing so far? Are you liking it? You know, you can only answer that. You can even answer those two questions. Conveyancing is fine. I'm liking it. It looks like it's a lot. It looks like I have to look at this and this. Which directions can you give? Yes, Wekesa, come on. Go ahead.
Yes, conveyancing is nice, but from what I'm hearing that there is a difference between reading conveyancing, the way you read it in LLB and the way you can read it in Kenya School of Law. So I wanted to know, I wanted to be guided on that.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Wekesa. Yeah. So I think a lot of people have said that, and they'll even tell you civil litigation is not the same way. What can I say? I think basically when you come to the Kenya School of Law, what we are going to learn is about application of laws. What is the structure? If you go to court today, will you just yawn and the judge will look at you? Will you just yawn and the magistrate will look at you? Will you just raise up your hand and the magistrate will know that you have an issue? So basically, what we're going to learn in conveyancing is just procedure. So probably what you learned at LLB. Now again, I didn't have the privilege to learn conveyancing in undergrad because at your end they don't do that. They don't teach conveyancing. But so I wouldn't really know the difference. Me, I got everything at once. But I'm thinking maybe then you learned the substantive part of conveyancing, and now you're going to learn how to apply that particular conveyancing. So basically, you're just going to learn about procedures here. You're going to learn more about procedures here. But another thing that, again, I would like to say is that I think conveyancing is just always about procedure anyway. It's always about procedure. It's always about procedure. And even at KSL, it's going to be about procedure. So, of course, there's substantive part to it. But again, if you look at the questions on conveyancing, they'll ask you, someone has come to you with this particular problem. They don't want you to define to them who is the vendor, who is the purchaser, who is, like, they don't want those substantive part of it. They'll ask you, how would you go about the case? They want a title tomorrow. How would you get the title? They want to lodge a caution. How would you lodge the caution? So maybe what this person was referring to is the fact that now, even as you study conveyancing, you have to look at how to apply it. You have to understand how to apply it, because the questions here are going to be about application. So it's going to be about procedure. If you have a case, how would you go through it? You know, it's the same thing as practicals or surgery. You've been taught medicine all this while. Oh, the brain works like this. The mouth works like this. The tongue works like this. The eyes work like this. But now, if you are to remove something from someone's eye, it's not about how the eye works. You have to know, oh, I know if I touch this would be a problem. So I need to go through this way. I know if I remove this, then this person will not be able to see again. So I have to leave it. So basically, that's what we're going to learn, the practical part of it. We already know about the brain. But now, how would we sort an issue in the fact that in a situation where the brain has a problem? Just knowing about the brain itself is not enough. But now, how would you treat someone who has an issue with the brain? So basically, what we're going to learn here is about procedure, how to apply that particular knowledge that you have. I don't know if that answers your question, Bekesa. Procedure, mostly. Bekesa?
It answers me. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. So it's going to be more about procedure. And so we have to really look at the regulations. Please ensure that you have the regulations with you. The regulations are very, very important. Okay, all right. So I bet we can kick off I bet we can kick off. It's 9:11. So we're just going to move slowly. It's a run through. So I won't be getting into the meat, but please, if you have a question in a particular topic or a particular unit that I'm going through, please just shoot your question and let's see if you're able to get the answer as quick as possible, even as we move forward. So yeah, when I joined KSL, first thing about conveyancing, we were introduced to all these laws, so many laws. I don't know how many there are, and we're told that we have to know about them, we have to read them, and that is very important. But again, the way I've said and the way Bernard has also reiterated or emphasized, please just know these laws so that you know where you're coming from and you know everything. But the current laws, you have no option. You have to know what they're saying so that you know how to apply them. The Land Act is basically, it's mostly substantive. To some extent, the Land Registration Act will give you some procedures here and there, but it's also substantive. Now, the regulations will come in handy. And one thing I'd like to encourage you guys, read the regulations. Read the regulations. Read the regulations. Read the regulations. It will save you. When people will be asking questions, because the regulations will tell you, if this is the case, if it's a caution, this is how you lodge it. If it's a caveat, this is how you lodge it. If it's a restriction, this is how you lodge it in this situation. If you are registering a property, this is how you do it. Like, it gives you the steps, and conveyancing is all about procedure. So one secret that I can tell you guys as early as now, as much as you read the Land Registration Act and the Land Act, which are also very important, please sometimes just take your time and go through the regulations. Go through the regulations. I'll give you guys the exact citation for the regulation, so that maybe you can also just look for them in the EKLR system and just go through it. But one thing that saved me, guys, was going through the regulations. I knew what to do when, what to file when, which form do I need, which form don't I need. Okay. So yeah, first of all, you'll be told about all the laws that you need to read. Then after that, probably you'll go into the duties of the vendor, and the vendor is the person who is selling, and the purchaser. Now, I want to believe that when I talk about the vendor and the purchaser, I know that we are together, because conveyancing is always about selling. It's a transaction. Something is moving from one place to the other. It's moving from the ownership of one person to the ownership of another person. When I say something, I mean land. Conveyancing. Okay. So I want to believe when I'm talking about the vendor and the purchaser, we are together. Now, one thing that again people usually forget is duties of the vendor and the duties of the purchaser, or duties of the vendor's advocate and the duties of the purchaser's advocate. Now, today we are going to talk about duties of the vendor's advocate and the duties of the purchaser's advocate. Sometimes you can go through orals and someone just sees you're tensed and they start with, Lisa or Wekesa, what is, if today you are representing a vendor, what would be your duty? Sometimes people read these things, they're like, this is too easy, whatever, I mean, what's the worst that can happen? But it's very important that you go through these duties. And I don't know if you are going to memorize or whatever, but I think it's always very important to understand these duties can come in handy sometimes. You can have a scenario where you have 20 marks and you cannot remember 5 duties, meaning you'll only get 10 because you'll write the 5 and explain them. If you knew 10 duties, guys, that is 20 marks. So I'd also like us to take this as serious as possible. So when I talk about the vendor is the person who is selling their land. Yeah? Yes, Bernard? Bernard, you want to say something? Bernard? Okay, probably it was a mistake or something. Guys, you can hear me? Yeah? Go ahead, Bernard.
Yes, I think losing some points in top.
Okay, I can't hear you clearly. Guys, are you losing me? I think Bernard is saying he's losing me. Wekesa, can you hear me clearly?
I can hear you clearly.
Oh, okay. So Bernard, I think probably it's your network. You can look into your network. I think, yeah. Because even when you're speaking, I couldn't hear you clearly. So duties of the vendor. Anyone wants to give us 3 duties only? Just 3, without referring to your notes. 3 duties of the vendor's advocate before I read them quickly. Again, guys, we said don't shy away. Just like you, I'm not a lecturer, I'm not a teacher. I'm just like you. We're just having a discussion. So think about it as the group discussions that you usually have. Duties of the vendors advocate. Ama, you guys have not studied duties of the advocates yet. Okay, have you guys done duties of the advocates? The vendors advocate, the purchasers advocate?
We have done it. Maybe I can give it a try.
Okay.
First duty, I think, is to make sure that you receive the deposits as per the LSK standards. The deposit. Then the second one is to make sure that you have a good title to. The title is how can I say, it is well marketable, so that you don't involve yourself into a fraudster whatever situation. Unless I get back to my notes, because I haven't crammed them or mastered them so much, but I think those ones.
Okay, I can see another hand raised. Go ahead. I can't see your name, but there's a hand that is raised. Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Susan Watila.
Go
So
ahead.
duties of the vendors advocate include one, conducting the initial client interview, where you ask the basic questions about the land, the physical appearance of the land, where it's located, and then you ask them to produce their documents if they have the title deed. And then another duty is conducting due diligence, and another one is drafting the sale agreement.
Okay, that is good, loud and very clear. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Attila. That was loud and clear. Anyone else with a raised hand? Please just go ahead. I can't see all the hands. I don't know why. If your hand is raised, go ahead. Okay, I bet none. Okay, so I just said from there just to to prod you and to see where we are. But let me just take one step back. In conveyancing, we are talking about selling land. I am sorry to use such a layman's way of defining this. I know there's a more sophisticated way of defining this. So maybe we should start from the parties involved in conveyancing. I think maybe we should start from there. And I think I'll take us through this as quickly as possible. So the parties involved in conveyancing includes estate agents. I think let's start just from there. Now, that's just one person involved. We also have land valuers, we have planners, we have architects, we have quantity surveyors, we have land surveyors, we have lawyers, we have the normal human beings, the vendor and the purchaser. We have charges, we have chargers, we have different kind of people. And so I'm just going to go through some of the duties of these other guys. These are the guys that probably we won't talk about. Now, I've thought about selling land. So probably it will move from me. For it to move from me, you need a valuer so that you know how much this land is, the land that you're buying, just so that you know how much stamp duty are you supposed to pay, how much capital gains are you supposed to pay, and everything else. And so I think it's very important for us to talk about some of these parties. So the estate agent will probably identify a party to a conveyance. So maybe the estate agent will be able to know, Wekesa wants to buy land, and I know Watila owns some 5 acres in Karen, and she wants to send. And so the estate agent will bring these two people together, and that transaction will be able to happen. Then we can also talk about the land. I'm going to talk about this as fast as possible. Now, under estate agent, I'd like you guys to, I'd just like to give you, just jot somewhere, write somewhere, this case, the case of Mapis Investment Kenya Limited versus Kenya Railways Corporation of 2005. Now, this is a case that probably they ask in orals because it's quite important. I'd like you guys to just go through this case. just to help you understand estate agents and everything else I'm talking about. The case of, I'll repeat, Mapis, just the way I'm saying it, Mapis Investment Kenya is in brackets Limited, versus Kenya Railways Corporation of 2005. Go through that case and just see what it talks about. You can just skim through it. It's I don't think it's very long. Then, apart from estate agents who help these people meet together, we have a land valuer. So should be a qualified person under the Valuers Act, or the people who are licensed by the government to actually do the function of valuing lands. So their role is to value the property that you are buying. You need to know the property that you're buying, it how much is it. I know parties can agree, me and you can agree and just buy land at 30 million or whatever, because there's urgency and everything else. But who unto you, if you buy land for 20 million, yet that land should go at 10 million, who unto you? Too bad for you. So it's always very important that you have a valuer who will tell you, okay, Daniel, I know Watila wants to sell this land to you, which is at Karen at 380 million, but it should actually go for 180. So this land valuer will be able to tell me how much I need to buy this land at. And this will help me to talk to Watila and I probably agree on something. Again, if you're a bank, I'm giving someone a loan, you should know the security that you are getting is actually the FSV, the for sale value is this, and the market value is this. The only way for you to know that is there needs to be a valuer. Now, we also have planners. Let's say someone wants to build an estate in the middle of CBD. Now, is it even allowed under the plans that we have? Can you actually even build a residential place in the middle of town? So these guys will be able to tell you, they'll even tell you how to plan whatever you want to build. So these persons must also be registered under the Physical Planners Registration Act, and they control developments and subdivisions within local authorities. So they'll be able to tell you, oh, if you want to build an estate here, I don't think it will go through. You might even get the money and everything else, but the city council or the county government does not allow people to build this particular structure in this particular area. They'll be able to advise you before you go ahead with whatever you want to do. We have architects. These guys will be able to tell you, oh, you want to build, you want to build, what do you want to build? You want to build a school? Okay, fine. This is how we can build it. They'll help you to create the architecture of the development that you actually want, the plans and everything. How will it look? How should it look? These guys can guide you during this process. We have quantity surveyors. These guys will estimate the quantities and costs of the materials and the labor and time that you need to to have, or whatever you need to pay for you to be able to build this development that you're coming up with, this estate that you want to build, this house that you want to build, and everything else. We have land surveyors. These guys are the ones who determine the boundaries and the mapping. They'll tell you, oh, you are buying land. Oh, he tells you that it starts from here until here. Okay, let's go to the land. Let's go and see it physically. They'll be able to tell you, okay, this is where the boundary is, and this is where it ends. So if he told you that it goes until that particular tree, they actually lied to you. That part of the tree is not their land. So again, before you get into the transaction, these guys will tell you that you want to buy this land from Watila. These are the boundaries of this land. Please don't be lied to. Don't allow anyone, again, Watila, I'm not saying that you are a liar, but these are the boundaries. It starts from here until here. So these people will be able to tell you, so that you don't just buy something that does not even exist. So yeah, that's the job of the land surveyors. Okay, so we have other people, we have banks, we have financial institutions, we have guys who come and finance you, guys who come and do this and this. So there are so many people involved in this. But one thing that I'd like us to understand even as we begin is convincing is just about the process of buying land from this particular person to this other person. Now, it's that process that we need to learn. Even if I want to protect my land, if I want to know something about a land, if I want to do as such, that is basically what we are going to learn today. Anything that you'll be able to do to help you or to facilitate you buying this particular land. And that's why, again, it's very important for us to talk about all these other guys. Of course, you also have advocates who will draft the documents for you, who will register the documents for you, who will do this for you, who will advise you on the legal matters involved and everything else. So we have different players, but these different players come in to help us buy this particular land that you want to buy, help you buy this prestigious land that you want to buy. They help you know, okay, the land that you want to buy is this. If he's telling you this, he's actually lying to you. This is what you need to buy. If you want to buy land in Karen, the estate agents will be able to tell you, okay, I have someone in mind who actually wanted to sell their land. They'll be able to connect you guys. So basically, that is what we'll be learning through conveyancing. Now, just to reiterate, what we're going to learn in conveyancing is just about procedure. Sometimes people like to put conveyancing to look like this crazy and hard topic, this theory that is just not understandable. There's just so many laws to read. There's just so much. But if you cut it down to this basic fact, we're just learning how to sell land, how to do it. And when you're buying land, what are you supposed to know? Who do you need? Who should you talk to? So that is what we're going to learn. Okay, so we have client interviews. I'm trying to go as slowly as possible. We have client interviews, and during the interviews, probably when you have this client with you, the person who you are representing, at least have, know their names. So these are the duties of the vendor. And well, I think also the vendor's advocate and also the purchaser's advocate. I'm representing Wekesa. At least I need to know. These are the details and the particulars of this particular person. Wekesa is married or Wekesa is not married. This is the ID number of Wekesa. This is where Wekesa lives. This is so that, and if Wekesa is selling, Wekesa has brought to me the title. I have seen the title. I have verified that this is a good title. And I know that we're able to move forward with this sale. You don't want to be those advocates who represent developers who actually do not even exist. Someone is telling, we have a company, and this company is not registered. The company does not exist. These guys are just coming up with a scheme to steal from people, and then you get entangled in all this. So it's very important that you know who you're dealing with. During the interview, when you meet these guys for the first time, at least you need to know the proposed conveyance. Meaning you need to know the parcel of land that you're talking about. You need to know, how much do they want to sell at? Have you seen the title of the property? Have you seen all this? Then the details on pre-contract inquiries. If you're acting for the seller, at least ask about the defects. Yes, you're selling. You're selling this land. This land is in Athi River. I'm told that some parts of Athi River are actually. I'm just coming up with that with something. So this doesn't have to be true about Athi River. They're actually, very flat. So I'm told, the houses in this corner, there's this developer who developed them, and I've realized that during the rainy season, this house is actually swamp. And and water comes in and this happens. So where is this land? Which plans do you have to ensure that this swamping does not occur? How much are you selling it? When we are selling this land to Attila, will we tell Attila that these are the latent defects that we have? These are the patent defects that we have. Now I'll later on I'll explain the latent defects and the patent defects that I'm talking about. You need to discuss on conflict of interest. Yeah, I'm representing you in buying this land. Who is on the other side? Could it be that they are my clients? Could it be that I've represented them before? Then the details of the certificate of title and the discuss on financing, how they. So basically, they just you need to know what you're dealing with. Basically, you need to know the person you're dealing with. You need to know whether they are registered or not. Are they Kenyans? Are they foreigners? You need to know whether there's a title or not. You need to know where this land is. You need to know whether there are any defects. Could there be? You just need to do your due diligence, and these interviews help you do that. Just to remind you, I've given you guys an assignment. Please go through the case of Mapis Investment Kenya Limited versus Kenya Railways Corporation, a case for 2005 in the Court of Appeal. Okay, so I hope that has helped us to just form that foundation when it comes to conveyancing. The fact that we'll be dealing with all these guys, and all of them have roles in helping us meet the needs that we have in ensuring that your client buys the best land at the best price, and land that actually exists, and land that you've actually seen, and land where you know where the boundaries are. Okay, so we'll go through this quickly. What are the duties of the advocates and other professionals in conveyancing? We have duties of the vendor's advocate to obtain full particulars of the parties, which we've talked about, the ID, their address, their passport, and whatever. 2, to obtain the particulars of the property. Have you seen the certificate of title? Is it freehold? Is it leasehold? Have you seen the certificate of lease? What are you dealing with? 3, you need to ascertain the vendor is the person who is selling. Just to reiterate, the vendor is the seller. You need to ascertain whether any deposits have been paid. Has he been paid? How much has he been paid? You need to confirm whether the land has any encumbrances. Is there a charge of this land? Talk to this person who is selling. If there's a charge, it's by which bank? How much is it? How do they plan to sell? Are they selling it with the charge, or are they removing the charge? You need to confirm whether the property is vacant or not. as the advocate. You need to ascertain the completion date and the availability of the purchase money at that particular date, the completion date. You need to draft and prepare the sale agreement. Now, I know this is something that probably you guys know by now, that transactions in relation to land, must have a written agreement. Contracts in relation to land must be written. Section 3.3 of the Law of Contract Act. They have to be written. So you need to ascertain, is there a sale agreement? The vendor is selling, someone is selling. Is there a sale agreement? Have you seen that sale agreement? It is actually also your duty to ensure, it is the duty of the vendor's advocate to draft the sale agreement so that you're the one giving the terms, not the purchaser giving you the terms of whatever you are the one selling to them. So it's your duty to prepare the sale agreement. Number 9, you can prepare the title documents, obtain the original title document from the vendor and everything else. Basically the completion documents. You're the one to approve the transfer. You're the one to approve the conveyance. You're the one to tell the vendor, oh yeah, this one is okay, you can actually sign. This one is not okay, they need to change this, this, and this. You're the one to procure the execution of the transfer and everything else. You're the person to receive and account for the proceeds of the sale to the vendor. You're the person to obtain the rates, rent, clearances, and everything else. You're the person to obtain the discharge of charge and everything else whenever those ones are involved. So I've given you so many duties. You can just have a few of them. Duties of the purchaser's advocate. Purchaser's advocate, this is the person who is representing the person who is on the other side, the person who is buying. So you can write what you'll be able to hear. Your duty as the purchaser's advocate. The purchaser's advocate, again, just to reiterate, is the person who is representing the person who is buying. I have come to you, I've told you, Wekesa, I'm buying land from Watila, and the land is worth this much, and you're going to be my advocate in this transaction. What are your duties? What should you know? You need to obtain the full particulars of the person that you're representing, their IDs, their address, passport, and everything else. You need to obtain the particulars of the property. At least do you have a copy of the certificate of title? If it's a lease, at least do you have a copy of the certificate of lease? You need to ascertain the consideration. How much is the purchase price? How much are we paying for this particular land? You need to ascertain whether any deposits have been made. You're representing the purchaser. Have they made any deposit to the vendor? How much deposit have they made? Where is this money sitting? Did they pay directly to the vendor, or did they pay to the vendor's advocate? Who is the vendor's advocate? You need to confirm whether the land is whether the land that your client is buying is encumbered or not. You need to confirm whether the property is vacant or not. You need to ascertain the completion date and the viability of the purchase price. The person you're representing, do they even have this money? Where is it sitting? We don't need to give undertakings. When are you supposed to give these undertakings? Are you ready to give these undertakings? You need to approve the sale agreement and requisition for the same. You need to look at the sale agreement, especially because your client who is buying. If there's no sale agreement, then there's no deal. So even if they paid money, whatever, you need to have the sale agreement, because the contracts in relation to land must be in writing. You're the one to prepare the transfer. You're the one to engross the documents. You're the one to register the documents at the lands registry and everything else. So at least that is also your duty that you have. So I've talked about different duties here. At least ensure that at least at least at the beginning right now, at least know 5, at least know 4. But one good thing with conveyancing is just understand what you're learning. Understand that you're learning the process of purchasing land from one person to another. At least that's the basic part of it. And if you are on the vendor's advocates, understand your duties. Understand that I'm on this side. How should I protect my client? Oh, now I'm on the purchaser's advocate. I'm on this side. How best can I protect my client? Okay. Yeah. Do we have questions on duties? Anyone with a question on duties before I move forward to the next thing? Anyone with questions on duties? Maybe there's a duty that you've had that you don't understand. Yes, Wekesa?
Yes, I've been seeing some advocates acting for both the vendor and the purchaser. Maybe it is part of the practice. What is your opinion on that?
Okay. So you've seen people acting for both parties. Yeah. So the regulations allow you to act for both parties. However, where there is conflict of interest, at least inform your client that, you know what, I'm acting for you in this case, but I'm also acting for the other person in this particular case, and get the consent of your client. So it's not illegal. It is not unlawful to act for both parties, but it is important and it is a must that you have informed both parties and you have consent from both parties. That I'm telling you, Wekesa, that Wekesa, I'm representing you in this case, but Watila, who is selling to you, I'm also representing Watila. So please, do you allow me to still proceed with? Do you allow me to still to proceed with representing you and representing her, or do you disagree with that? Do you disapprove that? Are you okay with it or are you not okay with it? So you can represent both parties, but ensure that both parties know that you are representing both parties and you have consent from both parties. Wekesa, does that make it clear?
Yes.
Yeah. So there will be conflict there, yes, but both parties know that there is conflict and they are okay with that conflict. They have both consented to you representing them despite that conflict. They are all okay. So you must have obtained their consent. Okay. So we'll move forward to the next thing, which is due diligence. Due diligence. Anyone would like to maybe explain to me what is due diligence? Anyone? From the top of your mind, what is due diligence? And Bernard, if I'm moving too fast and there's something you want to add, please just raise up your hand and you can always just add something. Anyone know what is due diligence? If you talk about, if I tell you, oh, Lisa, you need to do your due diligence. What do I mean? Anyone? What is due diligence? Yes, Ngeno, Chebet.
It is the process of investigating title and any encumbrances attached to it.
Nice. And I want to agree with you. Investigating. I think that would be the right word to use. Due diligence is where, if I'm representing you, I have investigated. I have done my homework. I know who you are. I know who I'm dealing with. I know what you want to buy. I know where the money is. I know how much you've paid. I know how much you should pay. I know when you should pay it. I know everything else. I know what you want to buy. I know whether it's encumbered. I know whether it's not encumbered. I know if you have a charge. I know which bank register that charge. I know how much you owe that bank. I know how much you are supposed to pay. I know how much you are paying monthly. I know how you intend to pay it. So due diligence is all about investigation. To some extent, now we have to become DCI here. So due diligence is all about knowing. You have to know. You have to investigate to know. Now, the reason why I now have moved to due diligence is because this is the most important. I want to believe this is the most crucial part of everything else. Because so many times people buy lands that do not even exist. And why? Because nobody did their due diligence. Nobody cared to even go and check in the register. Does this land even exist? The land that Wekesa wants to buy so bad at 380 million, does it even exist? Is it true that Lisa owns it? Could it be that maybe Chebet has an interest on this land? And if Chebet has an interest, what is her interest? Could it be that there's a caution? So many times people buy things that don't exist because someone somewhere didn't do their job. Nobody checked this land. Nobody looked at the land. Nobody even knows where it exists. And so due diligence is a very important part of conveyancing. It what helps you know what you are dealing with. Now, due diligence is separated in several or different stages. So we are going to start with the pre-contract stage. The pre-contract stage. And to this, I mean, this is where you conduct the search. This is where you can also have the pre-contract inquiries. Inquiries basically where you are asking questions. And this is also where you can have proof of title and requisitions. I'm going to explain all this, but I like that now we understand what we mean when we talk about due diligence. Now, and basically, just talking about investigation of title as due diligence. And the objectives of this, of course, are to be able to find out whether the vendor of the borrower actually hold good title. I want to sell for you land. Do I even have good title? Or I'm coming to you because I have a caveat on this land and I'm telling you I want to sell it to you. I have a caveat. I have a caution on the land. How can I sell to you this land and I don't even own it? So due diligence will help you to know this. Then to protect the interest of the bona fide purchaser, the person who is buying, at least you're able to protect them only if you know what they are buying. And also to ascertain the patent defect, since it isn't the seller's duty to to disclose this. The patent defects are defects that you are able to see through investigation. That if you go to the land registry, you're able to know whether there was an encumbrance on that land, there's a caveat, there's a caution. These are things that you're able to know if you do your due diligence. Now, investigation of title, which is due diligence, which we're talking about here, involves these particular stages. We have searches. So I'd like us to first focus on searches. I mean, I want to believe if I talk about a search, we all understand what a search is. It speaks for itself. Okay. So we have different types of searches. If I want to search and know what the land is all about, again, guys, if you're not able to do everything today, I think we'll have another session where we can maybe finish. And again, I think there would also be no importance of badging you or having you have so much information, and it's not helpful. So I'm going to try as much as possible to be as detailed as I can. So searches are three. Who would like to tell us the type of searches that you have? Anyone who knows the types of searches that we do or that we have? You can even tell us 5. Who knows? Maybe there's another one that I don't know about. Go ahead, Wekesa.
Yes, there is an official search, there is a personal search, then there is the physical search whereby you can go personally to look into the land and inquire with the neighbors or with the general community about it.
Yeah, so you've said official search, personal search, and
physical search whereby you can go personally to the land to make some inquiries. Maybe there is there are neighbors who know much more than what is there on paper. That is
okay. Thank you. So you've said official search, personal search, and physical search. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that contribution. I really appreciate it. Yes, Watila?
Historical search where you go to the root of the title, in who owned the property before the vendor, and before that person who owned before that one. Yeah, I think you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay, so you've said we have historical search, and that's an addition. Ngeno, I saw your hand was up. Chebet? Chebet?
That's what I wanted to say. I cannot repeat.
Okay, sawa. Sorry for trying to force you to repeat. Okay, it's okay. Thank you. Yeah, so we have those types of searches. And guys, one thing that I'd like us to understand is I'd like us to understand how we are moving. Convincing is easier when you understand it. So guys, just to take us back, we've started from who are the parties to this transaction. We're talking about the transactions involving land. Someone is buying land, or someone is charging land, or something is happening in relation to land. Someone is transferring land. We are talking about things that affect land. So we talked about the parties involved in these things that affect land. We've talked about estate agents and everyone else. At least we've built that foundation. These are the guys involved. We've talked about the duties that they do. Now, we've said when someone wants to buy land, they need to know the land that you're buying. And now at this particular juncture, we're talking about knowing the land that someone wants to buy. It's either you're representing the person who wants to buy, or you are representing the person who is selling this particular land. And we've said for you to do that, there are things that you have to do. And one thing is a search. And now, at this particular point, we're looking at how will you conduct that search. Okay? So it's the reason why I'm focusing on this is because conversing is so easy if you understand the process. If you understand where you're coming from and where you are going, it makes it so easy. But if you don't understand where you are coming from, you don't even know why we talked about all these parties, you don't understand the intention, you don't see the objective, it becomes very complicated. Yet it's so easy. So it's just a process. Before you cook food, you have to have tomatoes, you must have onions, you must have a sufuria, you must have this, you must have this. So basically that is what we're doing. Okay. So searches. And thank you guys, the people who have answered. So we have number one, official search. As I think you've said very clearly, Wekesa, official search is done at the registries. Okay. Of importance, I'd like you guys to look at section 34 to section 36 of the Land Registration Act. on official search section at your own time. Just go through these sections, just as if you're reading a storybook. Just go through them. What are they saying? What are they saying? So this is undertaken by the officials at the land registry and is more advantageous than a personal search. Why? Because it enjoys a state guarantee or indemnity. So this is a search that is done by the officials, the ones who work at the land registry. They're the ones who do for you this search. You just make an application through, I think it's from LRA 1, then they're the one who will give you the results. I'll confirm to you which form do you use. So let me see. To apply, you use form LRA 84 for application. Form LRA 84. Again, right now, I know when you talk about LRA, what are those, Daniel? What are you talking about? To reiterate, if we look at the regulations, you'll be able to know which forms I'm talking about. In fact, the regulations even have a copy of these forms. You'll be able to see the forms. Form LRA 81 looks like this, 82 looks like this, 84 looks like this. So for you to do an official search, you need to make an application to the registry. That application is made through form LRA 84. This form is somewhere. If you look at the regulations in relation to land, I'll give you the right citation for the legal notice so that you can also look for it and see how these forms look like. So the application is made through form LRA 84. This application will be accompanied by a copy of the title that you want the officials to look into to you, the identification documents, and the PIN certificates. So after the land registrar or the officials that we're talking about, the official search that is done by the officials, after they've done the search, after they've conducted the search for you, they will issue you the certificate of official search. This one is in form LRA 85. Now, good thing with conveyancing, again, you'll realize that these forms, the forms that you usually use to make these applications, they follow each other. So you're able to remember even during exams. Application, it's form, and I need to use form LRA 84. Then the officials will give me form LRA 85, which will now show me, oh, this land, okay, so you want to buy the land. The land is encumbered. The land has a charge. The charge was registered on it by Diamond Trust Bank on the year of 2005. The charge is for this amount of money. Oh, in fact, there's also a caveat. There's a caveat that is registered. So the officials will tell you. So the only thing that you have to do, you make the application, pay the fees that are required, and sit back and wait for the officials to give you the results. Now, the reason why I'm saying this search is very important is because this information is coming from the officials, because they're the ones doing the search for you and giving you the results. They are liable. In the event that they give you the wrong information, then they should indemnify you if you suffer any losses. Again, look at sections 34 to 36 of the Land Registration Act. So official search are very important. They're done by the officials. We've said conveyancing is all about procedure. These are the types of questions that you'll see. Your good friend Bernard came to your chambers. Now, Bernard has identified a land in Runda. He's been told by Lisa that this land will go at 80 million. Bernard is very interested in buying this land, but Bernard would like to know the details of this land, or Bernard would like to investigate this land and know whatever he's buying. Please advise Bernard on the procedure. If you do not know that the application is done, and the application is done through, you don't have to write you don't have to write that it's form LRA 84. But if you write form LRA 84, even me, if I'm marking the exams, I'd give you more marks. But you don't have to. If you forget the form, it's fine, it's okay. You can just say, Bernard, this is what will happen. We'll have to pay the prescribed fees and apply in writing for an application of official search to the land registrar. This can also be done online. Bernard, we are going to use something called Form LRA 84. Then after we've applied through Form LRA 84, we will wait, and these officials will get back to us. They will get back to us through Form LRA 85. This Form LRA 85, which is a certificate of official search, will show us everything in relation to this land, Bernard. We'll be able to know whether there's a caveat, whether there's an encumbrance of this land, who owns that particular land, when they bought it, and everything else. If there's a caveat, if there's a charge, these people will be able to tell us. So that is the process. So you'll find probably this question is 2 marks. But if you do not know the process, process, you're not able to answer that particular question. If you know the process, you even know the formularies to be used, you get more marks from it. And that's why it's very important that you go through the regulation so that you know. So it's always about the process, the procedure. How do you do it? Okay? So that is about official search. So we'll go to the second search, which is personal search. Some people also like calling it hand search. Guys, at least if we live here today, at least know the types of searches that we do when it comes to due diligence. At least know the types of searches. So we talked about official search, which is done by the officials at the lands registry. It's the officials there who do it for you. You just make an application, pay the prescribed fees, they do it for you, and they give you the results. Personal search. This is undertaken by the advocate or his or her clerk. So the advocate takes personal responsibility for what he purports to have found. So this is why you go to the lands registry, you ask them for the files in relation to this land, you go through them yourself as the advocate. All the files in relation to that land, you go through them. You go through them one by one, by one, by one, by one, by one. So whatever results that you will get, whatever decision that you'll make, whatever judgment that whatever advice that you are going to get from looking at these files, it is yours as the advocate, and you are personally liable. Why are you personally? Yes, the government keeps these files, and I don't know if you'll be able to get all the files. I mean, we're in a country where sometimes it's hard to get these files, or sometimes these files are torn, or sometimes you can't even see what you're looking at, or sometimes maybe someone wrote something that you don't even know, but you are personally liable. So if I do a personal search for you, Wekesa, for example, and I give you the results, I am personally liable for what I'm telling you. And you cannot go to the officials because the officials did not do the search for you. I'm the one who did it personally. So I'm personally liable for the information that I give you. Now, we've also talked about historical searches. Now, there's the case of Dima Management versus the County Government of Mombasa. Please jot it down somewhere. Dima Management Limited versus the County Government of Mombasa. Please read that case. It will help you to understand why historical searches are very important, especially right now. Dima Management versus the County Government of Mombasa. Please just read it in your free time. Just read it to understand what it's about. So even though this one is not provided for under the acts, the legislations that we have, now it is provided for under case law, because I mean common law, and now the cases, the decisions that come from courts are now their rules. I know that when we understand their laws. So this particular case of Dima Management at least talks about these historical searches, the importance of, I think it is Chebet who was talking about this, that you understand, okay, this land was before, earlier on it was government land, then it was bought by this particular politician, but the particular politician did not pay this, or they did not do this, or they did not follow this particular channel, and so I can't buy it. This land could have issues that I'm not able to sustain, so then I will not look at it. Or this land has always been freehold. The land was owned by Wekesa's grandfather in 1901, or it has always been in their generation since records were records. It has always been freehold land. At least know the history of this land, because if you look at that, and the reason why I'm talking about this, if you look at that case of Dima Management versus County Government of Mombasa, you will see why I'm telling you to do that. It's very important that you know the history of the land that you are buying. Now, Wekesa, you talked about physical search. Now, I'd like you to talk about these searches at the tail end. At least let's have official search starting, personal search becoming next, then historical searches. Then maybe you can talk about physical searches. And I think you explained clearly that physical searches are where you go to the land and see it. If I'm telling you I have land in Kajiado, go to Kajiado and see that land. Don't buy land that you've not even seen. You don't even know where the boundaries are. You don't even know whether there is actually land in Kajiado. You don't even know how maybe the land is full of rocks. What if the land is all swampy? What if this land became a lake? What if this land became a river? It's very important that you go there and see whatever you're buying. And so, yeah, I think we can also talk about physical searches. And, I think you'd have to explain that this is a search where, you have to go to the land physically and see what is actually there. So, guys, if you're leaving here with anything, at least know the types of searches. We have official search. Easy. It's done by the officials at the land registry. I don't think someone can forget that. How is it done? You make an application and pay the prescribed fees through Form LRA 84. Give the the registry time. They'll get back to you with a form. The form is in Form LRA 85. This form will tell you every single thing in relation to that particular land. Okay, that's all I have to say about searches. Bernard, do you have anything to add? Okay, probably not. Do we have any questions in relation to searches? Any questions in relation to searches?
Sorry, Daniel, can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Now, to the participants, now as Daniel has informed us, is that CLE usually examines or wants us to appreciate the procedural aspects of these processes in conveyancing. Now, for instance, we have talked about the various types of searches. So in the November sitting, what they did is in question 1, they brought a case scenario that mirrored the facts of the dinner management limited versus county government of Mombasa. So if a student did not appreciate the aspect of the bona fide purchaser as well as the need for investigation, historical searches of the title, then he could not have answered that question to the satisfaction of the examiners. So it's the knowledge that we have the originals, we have the personal search, we have the official search, we have the historical search. How do you apply that knowledge? Then one thing I would like to ask the group is what are the benefits of conducting an official search? Anyone? What are the benefits of yes, Mr. Wekesa, please proceed.
Yes, I think that if you want to apply a search, first of all, you have to go to the registry and request for the particulars of what you want, whether the land has encumbrances like a charge, a mortgage. And then the next question is that the advantage of the official search over the personal search is that the official search gives you that upper hand in that the officials will be personally liable for the information that they have given you. For example, if they have told you that this land does not have any encumbrances, then you go ahead and transact on that land. Whatever results that come out of that, those officials will be liable. Thank you.
Thank you, Wekesa. Well put. Yes, state guarantee. Then one final thing that you also need to appreciate, and Daniel has put it forward very well, is the process of conducting these searches. Because CLE may ask you explain to your client what steps you need to do or to undertake to ensure that he is purchasing a good title. So you need to know the steps and the processes involved in conducting those searches. Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Bernard. Always a pleasure, man. Always a pleasure. So, to share sessions with you. Wekesa, your hand is still up.
That is an old hand. Sorry about that.
Okay. We hope to see the new one. Okay, sawa. We can move forward. So we've talked about searches, at least that is clear. So we'll move forward to the next part of this investigation of title. What do we mean? And it's called pre-contract inquiries. Pre-contract inquiries. Please don't mind whatever it might look like. So just to break it down, pre is something that is done before the contract. The contract is a sale agreement that we've talked about. Pre is done before. Pre is something that is done before pre-wedding, pre-game, whatever you want to call it. It's something that is done before. So this is what you do before signing that contract. The inquiries, the questions that you ask before signing that contract or before the contractual stage, before you guys have a contract, And here, the questions, the preliminary inquiries are usually on the physical condition of the land, the location basically, and of the subject property and how it looks like, and the proposed contractual document. Looking at the document and arguing out your facts, arguing that maybe why is it going at 180? Why are we saying the completion date is this particular date? Why are we paying this amount to the vendor and not the vendor's advocate? Why is this and this happening? So the importance of us having pre-contract inquiries is to ensure that we elicit information on matters not covered by the official and the personal search. So you might do an official search and a personal search and historical search, but still there are other things that are still left. There are other things that are still left that you need to look at. So the information to be sought during these pre-contract inquiries include the development prospects of the property. What are the neighborhood policies? What are the restrictive covenants of this particular place? What are the planners saying? If I want to build an estate, is it possible for me to have an estate in that particular place? What is the physical structures of the property? What is the county government saying? What are the existing disputes in court or the tribunals touching on that particular property? The people in occupation, are they ready to leave when I come in, when I take possession, when I buy this land? What's going to happen? Are there structures on this property? Okay. So this includes even the physical search that our good friend Wekesa talked about. They are done at this particular stage. So the importance of this, going there personally and looking at the physical and doing a physical inspection is to ensure that you're able to check the condition and state of the property that you are buying. It is advisable to engage surveyors and valuers to assist in inspecting the property. Don't have someone telling this property goes for, people are really buying land in this particular place. Right now it goes for 500 million. And you spill money and buy land and then you realize later on that actually that land was 100 million. It's very important that you have people on the ground. Go with these guys and let them check and let them advise you. Go with the surveyor. He'll be able to tell you, you know what, Lisa, this property starts from here. The boundary is here and the boundary ends there. It's not past that tree. No, they're lying to you. This is where it is and not anywhere else. You need to know who is in actual occupation. Is it a vacant land or is there someone living there? Is that someone with, who owns this land through adverse possession? Could that be the case? And you want to buy it? You need to know the boundaries and everything else. That's the importance of us having this physical search, as Wekesa would put it, or pre-contract inquiry, which also include talking about the contract. So the LSK conditions of sale, something that I also forgot to also inform you guys that you also need to look at, apart from the LRA, the Land Act, and the regulations. The LSK conditions of sales are also very important. 2015, you will find them anywhere. Very easy to find. And they talk about physical, why it's important to know about the physical state of the land. And if you look at condition 4.3, which talks about physical state, it says, 4.31 says, the purchaser is deemed to have inspected the property prior to signing the agreement of sale. And upon signing the agreement of sale, you accept the property as it is. subject to 4.32. Now, what does 4.32 says? The parties may agree to have a checklist of such fixtures and chattels forming part of the agreement, which checklist should be signed by the parties and be attached to the agreement. Okay, so this checklist is only subject condition that you have. If there was a checklist at any point whatsoever and everything in that checklist has not been ticked off, then at least you have some buffer. But if that is not there, then because the word used there is they're saying the parties may, meaning it's not a must. You can decide to have it. You may agree to have a checklist. You may agree not to have a checklist. However, what the condition is saying is the purchaser is deemed to have inspected the property prior to signing the agreement, and upon signing of the agreement, accepts the property as it is. So it's very important that you do this physical search, as Wekesa would put it, or these pre-contract inquiries. It's very important that you go and see the land, so that, because if you sign that sale agreement, then you are deemed to have it or buy it as is, or have signed that agreement knowing what you're getting into. I hope that is clear. Okay, so that is, you'll find that in the LSK conditions of sale 2015, condition 4.3. So maybe that's something that again you can jot down when it comes to pre-contract inquiries or physical searches, as Wekesa would put it. Okay, so if you also look at the LSK conditions of sale, if you look at condition 7.35, it says, after the purchaser has been afforded an opportunity of inspecting the property, the purchaser shall be deemed to have notice of the identity of the property and of its actual state and condition, and shall, the word used there is shall, meaning a must, subject to section to condition 6.3, be deemed to take the property with full knowledge of its state and condition, and shall take the property as it is. All right, so please take note of that, 7.35 and 4.3. So it's very important for you to go and inspect the property and know what you're looking at. Okay, you can go with the consultants, you can go with whoever, just so that you know what you're looking at. So in relation to pre-contract inquiries and everything else, if you go and look at the land and expect and find this and find that, if there's a provision somewhere that you don't want that provision to be there, you want to change the completion date, you want to say change this, you want to change where the money is going, you want to change this and this and this, this should be done at this particular stage before signing that particular contract. Because once you sign the contract, again, another thing that I'd like to clarify, the contract does not mean that you've bought the land. The contract, the sale agreement only directs, it only guides what, who, and who will do to ensure that the transfer is done. So the sale agreement will only define the obligations of the party in the process of buying that particular land. So once you sign the sale agreement, it does not mean that now you've bought the land. The sale agreement is only the contract that will define, that will regulate, that will, detail how that transaction will be done. So please don't have someone sign the sale agreement and tell them, oh, you have the sale agreement. You already have that land. That land is yours. No, the land will only be theirs if each and every party does their duty under the sale agreement and the transfer finally is done. So the sale agreement is not a transfer. When you sign the sale agreement, you are only agreeing on the obligations of each party to ensure that the transfer happens. I hope that is clear. The sale agreement only defines the obligations of the parties, which will guide and lead the transaction. The sale agreement is not the transfer of the property from one person to the other. In fact, the document that transfers interest in land is called a transfer. That is the document that once you sign that one, if you sign the transfer, now you are moving ownership from one person to the other. But just signing the sale agreement, no. The sale agreement is only the contract that defines and regulates the obligations of the parties involved in that particular transaction. So please don't confuse the two. Don't confuse the transfer and the sale agreement. Now, the third thing that we said that we're going to talk about in this, our journey of doing investigation and doing our due diligence, is deducing or proof of title proof of title. You can just write proof of title. So this is where you get to know the latent defects that we were talking about. So if you look at, so the vendor is under obligation to disclose to the purchaser all the latent defects he may be aware of and deliver on a promise that he has good title to the property capable of being passed to the third party. Remember, now we've signed the contract. So we are moving to the next stage. So disclose information on all rights, privileges, latent easements, and everything else. So it is the duty of the purchaser of charges to discover patent defects. No, so I talked about latent defects and patent defects. So patent defects are defects that you are able to ascertain by doing your due diligence. Those are called patent defects. Latent defects are defects that you might not be able to. It could be, or it is impossible for you to ascertain them unless I tell you. You've come to buy land in my area, which is a flat and sometimes swampy area. And the time that you've come to buy this land is the time when there is no rain. I'm not worried about rain whatsoever. There's no rain. So you'll not be able to know that this place is actually swampy during the rainy season unless I tell you, or unless you've heard the neighbors say. Okay, there are areas where there are restrictions that maybe me as the owner of the property assigned with those who are my neighbors. We agreed that in this area we are only going to paint our houses white, or we're only going to paint them red, or we will only paint them black. Probably you will not know about these particular things, but since you're buying the land from me, I'll be able to tell you. I know that the property that I'm selling to you has cockroaches. Cockroaches really like this area, or sometimes they get affected by these insects, or sometimes swarms of bees come and stay here, or sometimes there are things that you're not able to see or to know at one particular point, even if you do as much investigation as possible. So the law is very good. It says that it is the duty of the vendor to let you know of these latent defects. It doesn't leave you exposed. It is the duty of the vendor to let you know of the latent defects, the defects that you're not able to do even after conducting a search. So during this proof of title, this is when they're supposed to disclose this to you. Yes, this is when you ask them, do you have a good title? And whatever you are selling to me, could there be anything else that you are not telling me? In fact, the law even says, if you look at the LSK conditions of sale, 2015, condition 6.1.5, it says, the vendor shall, the word used there is shall. Here we're not talking about may, shall disclose to the purchaser details of all rights, privileges, latent defects or latent easements or other liabilities which are known by the vendor to affect the property, and all present and contingent liabilities in respect of road and sewage charges, in respect of which liability is to be borne by the purchaser, provided, however, the vendor shall not be required to make a specific disclosure of any such rights, privileges, latent easements, or other liabilities where these are contained in the title documents provided to the purchaser. So where you're able to see this, then they don't have to tell you. But if there's something that you're not able to see, the word used in 6.1.5 is shall. It is their duty. The vendor is under a duty to tell you this. And this is understood or talked about during the proof of title stage. If you look at 6.1 of the LSA condition of sale, it says, within 14 days of the date of the agreement, the vendor shall, without cost to the purchaser, deliver to the purchaser or the purchaser's advocate, 1, certificate copies of the title, 2, the property, certificate copies of the title to the property or an abstract of the title, 2, certified copies of the deed plan or survey map, 3, if the vendor is an individual, copy of ID card or any valid identification document, 4, if vendor is a company, certified true copy of the vendor's certificate of registration or certificate of compliance. Now, we've had this debate. I think I had this debate with one of the guys who I was in a group with. We had this group where, and I think even Bernard, you'll also maybe talk about this. It's always good to have groups where, you share your ideas. Guys, I read this and this is what it's saying, but I don't think it makes sense. Could someone explain to me? Now, The LSK conditions of sale talks about proof of title being done after the date of the agreement, meaning after the agreement. And sometimes it wouldn't make sense. Why would I know whether you have a good title and I've signed the agreement? I mean, it doesn't make sense. Why? Why can't we do this before I sign the agreement? But remember, we said the sale agreement only dictates the obligations of each and every party. So under the sale agreement, we'll agree that it is your duty to ensure that you're giving me a good title. It is your duty. And what we've signed at this point is a sale agreement. We've signed a contract. A contract can be repudiated. We can have rescission. The deal could fall off. Okay, so that's fine. So when we have a contract, that doesn't mean everything is set on stone and this transaction has to go through. No, something could go wrong. However, if we go through this proof of title process, if we go through this requisition process and we realize after I've received that copy of title, I realize that something is amiss, I'll just tell these guys, you've given me a copy of the title. This is a mess. I don't want to continue with this transaction anymore. Now, under the sale agreement, we agreed that if something is wrong, because when we are signing the sale agreement, it's always important to ensure that you agree that the person who is selling will ensure the person who is selling knows that they have good title to the property. They know that they own it. So if it was a condition that if you, when you're doing the proof of title, if you realize that that is actually not the truth, meaning that they lied before you signed the sale agreement, and you're supposed to retain this amount of money, or you as a purchaser, you already paid this amount of money before signing the sale agreement, and that money is supposed to come back to you, the money will come back to you. So not all is lost at this particular point. And that's why I think for me, I have no problem with this being done after the agreement. However, just to be safe, I think it is always very good as an advocate to have copies of these titles, to have the IDs, to have the deed plan and the maps and everything else before that contract is signed, so that you don't waste anyone's time, so that you don't get into a situation where I've refused to give you back your money, and so we have to go to court, we have to do this so that I get my money back, we have to spend legal fees again. I think for me, as an opinion that I usually give, it would be important for us to do proof of title before the sale agreement is signed, just to be safe. It is very important. Now, the last thing that we will do is called requisition. So requisition are such objections or queries arising after perusal and deduction of the title. Now, after proof of title, I've given you all these documents as the LSK sale of sale, after the things that the LSK conditions of sale are saying. After I've given you the title for you to look at and do whatever you want to do, it says that requisitions are such objections or queries arising after perusal and deduction of the title document. So if you look at 6.21 of the LSK conditions of sale on requisition, it says the purchaser may, within 14 days of receiving the document set out in condition 6.1, by notice in writing, require the vendor to procure to the purchaser's advocates copies of any title deeds or plan which are necessary to complete the vendor's title or properly to identify the property. So basically, during the requisitions, if you have any questions in relation to the title, you have a question in relation, okay, I see the title is written like this. What is the problem? I see this is like this. I've gone to the land, I've seen this and this and this. I've seen this and this. What is the way forward? How would you like us to, how are we going to deal with this? So this is where you make the requisitions. I have this question. I want to ask you, what is your answer and whatever. And the Act says very clearly that the time limit on the purchaser's right to raise these requisitions ceases to apply where the vendor supplies incomplete evidence. So where I've asked you, have an issue with this title, why does it look like this? When I did the search say that the title is LRA, this is from is a LR number, this. What you've given me is this. Why is this the case? This does not agree with the search that I did. This is so different. This is not the title that I expected to see. What is the problem here? If you look at the condition 6.3.1, it says within 14 days after delivery to the purchaser or the purchaser's advocate of the abstract title deeds or copies of the plans and other documents, the purchaser may give the vendor notice in writing of any objections to any requisition. This means if you have any questions as to the title, questions as to the description of the property, questions as to the abstract maps that you have, questions as to the approval necessary, questions as to the agreement, this is the time for you to raise them. Okay. Now 6.34 says all objects and requisitions shall be answered in writing within 14 days after receipt, and if not answered, the provisions of the subcondition 6.4 may be invoked by the parties, meaning you can decide and go through rescission, where we are saying, guys, my friend Wekesa, I've asked you questions in relation to this contract, in relation to this property. I've asked you why the LR number is different. I've asked you why, why I'm told that we need to get a consent, yet that consent have not been obtained. I've asked you this and this. 14 days have passed since I asked you this question. I've continued to ask. I've given you time. You've not answered me. And so I don't want to continue with this contract, or I don't want to continue with this relationship anymore. Please give me back my money. And that is it. I don't want to deal with this anymore. If you want to go for damages, you go for damages. Now, what is the significance of doing this due diligence that we've talked about? Due diligence will help you to discover the restrictive entries such as caveats, caution. A question could be asked during your oral exams or in your exams that, what is the importance of conducting due diligence? What is the importance? Why do we conduct due diligence? This could be some of the answers that you can give. It helps discover restrictive entries such as caveats, caution, prohibitions, or restrictions. It helps discover any encumbrances. It helps discover whether the proposed vendor is actually the registered proprietor. It enables the purchaser to check and know the state and conditions of the property that they're buying. It helps you know who is in actual occupation of the property. It enables the checking of boundaries. It helps check of rights and easements affecting the property. And it helps check the fixtures and fittings contracted to be sold together with the property, if any. Guys, that is all I can say in relation to due diligence. I know there's more to it. I know we could discuss this the whole day, but do we have any questions? But before that, Bernard, is there anything that maybe I've left out and you'd like to add in relation to due diligence?
Well, from my end, I do not have anything to add on that. You've covered the topic very well. From the charts, I have seen that Esther has asked a question on when requisitions are done. And my take on that is that requisitions are usually, they are basically in form of questions. They are done the minute you've done the investigation you've received the documents from the vendor or his advocates. You've done the investigation of the title, and you have some concerns that you need them addressed by the vendor. That's when you send the requisitions for the clarifications to be sent to you. It's after you've investigated the title and you are unsatisfied about some aspects of the title. Esther, I hope that answers your question.
I totally agree. Yeah. Thank you, Bernard. Do you have any questions? Someone raised their hand. Please go ahead. I can't see your hand again.
Okay, it is Wekesa. I wanted to ask, the other day I was reading about overriding interests, and I realized that they are not in the register. So I really wanted to know, at what point do we have such kind of disclosures? Is it at pre-contract or at contract, or it is upon you to figure it out? And then the second question, I'd like you to answer me just briefly, because there was a certain case in Kakamega whereby the officials had colluded with some brokers, and they had given out fake title deeds, when in fact the real parties who had gone to do that official search, etc., they had received the correct, but there was some conniving somewhere, whereby the original owners were pushed aside, and some fictitious people got the original titles. So as an advocate, how would you have gone through that particular issue?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ekis. I think the first question is on
Overriding interests.
Overriding interest, that is section 31. Okay, so if you look at that section again, it says very clearly that these things might not exist in they might not even exist in the registry or in any records whatsoever, but where they exist, then you know they're a real problem. They're a real problem. Now there's something we discussed in there's something we discussed when I was talking about easements and everything else. So basically these are things that if you can't see them, if they are nowhere in the registry, I mean, if they're not patent defects, if it's something that you should not, you're not able to know even if you do your search, then these are latent defects. And I think we talked about latent defects, and we said latent defects must be disclosed by the vendor. So these are duties that they have, and they need to disclose this as early as possible. I wouldn't want to say after the contract, or I wouldn't want to say before the contract, but as early as possible. Before the contract would be ideal, so that we don't waste any person's time. Then again, remember when we're talking about latent defects, we said that the word used there is shall, meaning, yeah, I think it's 6.1.5. The vendor shall disclose to the purchaser details of all rights. If you look at Section 31, I think it's Section 31 of the Land Act, which talks about that. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe please someone who is able to go through that, who's able to go through the Land Act or the Land Registration Act 31. Okay, so please someone will confirm. The LSA conditions of sale 2015 in condition 6.5 says the vendor shall disclose to the purchaser details of all rights, privileges, latent easements, or other liabilities which are known by the vendor to affect the property. So it is the duty of the vendor to disclose this to you. I want to say as early as possible. As early as possible. So that when you're getting into that contract, they have told you, oh, by the way, Daniel, you know, this and this. You know, there's the right of light here. There's this restrictive covenant that we entered into. You know, here this and this happens, or you know, here and here this and this happens. Because anyway, even if they don't, and something goes wrong, and now that particular right of way has to be applied, they will still be liable for damages. They'll still be sued in the event that you suffer losses. They will have to pay you for that particular loss. Why? The conditions are saying it is that they must, but they did not. And so you can sue them and ask them to pay you back for the damages that you've suffered. The right of way or whatever. Because the conditions are very clear. They are supposed to, they shall disclose, and they fail to disclose. Okay? So as early as possible, I'd say as early as possible. But if they want to do it after the contract, I don't know how that will go, but as early as possible. I think that would be better. Then you've asked about this case. Please just repeat that again. That someone, when they're doing the search, they had the...
There was an issue in Kakamega whereby there were officials who are conniving with the brokers and the rest of those malicious figures. And when people came to buy land, they could be given wrong information. I don't know at what stage, because I did not follow it up very, very well. But what usually happens when we have rogue of officials at the land registry, as an advocate, how do you go about it?
Okay, so these titles are given to you by the land registry. I want to be sure. And I think one thing that we usually say, one of the things that you need to do, if I am representing the purchaser, I should, as an advocate, I should ensure that I'm the one who goes and register the transfer. Like I'm the one who takes care of the registration process, and I'm the one who receives the title from the land registrar's office. I'm the one who is supposed to, the first person to pick it. It should be me, the advocate who is representing the purchaser. After we've done the transfer. Okay. So personally, for me, I believe that this title, that the reason why I'm saying this is because you see this title forms part of the completion documents. So unless you are saying that when you got the completion documents, you got a fake title. The completion documents that you went with to the registry's office for registration of this transfer, you had a fake title in there. But then I'm wondering, if you had a fake title and the land registry must always go through all this and they have to look at them before they actually conduct the transfer, then they tell you that the title that you've brought to us is fake and you're actually not able to register this transfer on this title because it's a fake title. It's a fake title. And especially now, it's even better that now we have this conversion and everything. And so they have to give you a new title. So then they tell you at that particular, when you've gone to register the transfer, they tell you that the title that you have is a fake title. And so you'd have to stop from there. The transfer would not proceed. But where the transfer has proceeded, meaning the title that you gave to them was the proper title, then you'll be the first person to get this title back after the transfer is done. So unless you, the advocate, you decided to keep the original title and give it to someone else and printed another fake title and give to your client as the title, then the problem would be lying with you. Or unless we had so many people and they were represented by one advocate, and this advocate decided to give other people the right title and decided to give other people the fake title. I don't know if you understand that particular scenario. So it really depends at what point was this title lost and who had it in the first instance. Or did you just sit back and tell the vendor, you choose whatever advocate you want? Let the advocate do I just want a title with my name on it. Then in that instance, you are really exposed. But if it is this same advocate who was given the completion document, this same advocate went with that title to the land registry, that title was accepted by the land registry. The land registry even went and wrote in that title that this title has now moved from this particular person and gave it to your advocate. So unless they gave your advocate the wrong title and the search they did was wrong, then the land registry, the officials would be liable for that. But if they gave your advocate the right title and the advocate decided to give you the fake title, then the advocate would have to be liable. So liability would really depend on who was given the original title, where did it go to, and who did they give it to. So in that case, what happened? Is it the advocate who gave this purchaser the wrong title after doing the registration of the transfer, or even no transfer was done totally? Bekesa?
It was the officials who had done a wrong process at the completion stage and connived with the brokers and the quote unquote legal landowners could not access their land after some time, because now there is a group of people who are now claiming that they are the bona fide landowners. So I was just asking, what is the next step? Would you start by taking liability, or you start by suing them?
Now, where you are even very sure and you are clear that this mischief happened at the land registry, then you have to go for the land registry. They're the ones that you'd have to deal with. Remember what we talked about indemnity? They are the ones who gave you that title. It's the land registry. You believed in them. The torrent system is very clear. That's what we're using right now. Whatever they give you should be the right thing. They gave you the wrong thing. Then so they're the ones who would be liable in that particular scenario. They'd have to find the person who made mistake. Yeah. And now the Attorney General would have to defend this particular person. Hopefully they don't win. If they don't win, you'll get your money back. Or I don't know, but they'll guide you. But I think in that instance, they should be able to indemnify you because they're the ones who gave you the wrong title anyway. You trust them. The insurance principle is there. That's what you are following. They are the ones who gave you the wrong title. And so I want to believe it's only fair that they're the ones who is liable. Again, if you look at the sections that I told you about, section 34 and 35, it states that anything that comes from the land registry, anything that comes from them, whatever is indicated there is the truth. The sole truth and nothing else. And so if what is supposed to be the truth, what they gave you is not the sole truth, then they're the ones who are liable. They're the ones who ought to maybe indemnify you, give you back the money, or sort of, I don't know how. It depends with the prayers that you want. Do you want your money back? Do you want the title that you've been given that is fake to be cancelled, and the other title that has been given to the other guys to be, their names to be removed and your names to be written? It really depends. But again, I think of importance also, I'd like to also maybe if you can look at the case of Gitwan versus Gateway. No, it wasn't gateway. It was which is that? Gitwan versus something. Where there were two titles and what happened? Yeah, Gitwan Investment Limited versus Taj Mahal. Yeah, Taj Mahal Limited and two others. Where two titles were given to these people, and what was considered is who got the first title, and the person who got the first title is the one who retained the title, and the other guy got their money back and probably got land somewhere else. So I think that indemnity would still cover you in this particular instance. Wekesa?
I'm well guided.
Bernard, this is when you come in and tell Wekesa whether I'm lying to him or not. Bernard, what's your opinion on that question? If you're there, Bernard, or if anyone else has a different opinion, this is when you say it. Yeah, so since this information came from the land registry, it ought to be correct. If it's not correct, then they're the ones who are in trouble. Okay, that is that. That is that. Any question? Any other question that we might be having? Anyone with any question, please? This is the time. We are finishing at 11, so don't worry, guys. I know you're getting tired. I don't know if it's Leva or Levi. Go ahead. Sorry.
Just pronounce it the way you like it. Thank you. Some people call me Levi, some others call me Levi, so it's still okay.
Okay. So,
can you please repeat the importance of due diligence? You are too fast for me.
Sawa. Apologies for being too fast. Okay, I'm going to go as slowly as possible. So it will help you discover restrictive entries such as caveats, caution, basically the encumbrances. It will help you to discover encumbrances on the property. Then it will help you to discover whether the proposed vendor is actually the registered owner of the property. The proposed vendor, whether they are the proprietor. Now there are those people who sell air. They come to you with a nice title, but they're not even the owners. Or they come to you with a title which does not even exist. Then it enables the purchaser to check and know the state and condition of the property. Remember what Wekesa said, the physical search? It will help you to know and check and know the state and the condition of the property. Why? Because one to you, there's condition 7.35 and 4.31 of the law of the LSK conditions of sale. If you don't check, then you buy it as is. Then another one is it helps you know who is in actual occupation of the property. Is the property currently leased to who? Are they amenable to living when you take possession? Just so that these are not stumbling blocks when you want to take possession. Then another thing, it enables you to know and check the boundaries, which are also very important, to know and check the boundaries. So that you know the boundaries. Someone is not telling you this land is from here up to the other side of the hill. Kumbe, they're lying to you. Another thing, it helps you to check on rights and easements affecting and benefiting the property. So these are the things that probably could even come from the latent defects, the overriding interests. These are the things that you'd know during this particular process. Then it helps check the fixtures and fittings contracted to be sold together with the property. You'll know that the property that I'm buying, there's a house on it. Maybe I can use that house or no. Maybe I don't like the house. I'll have to bring it down. Or maybe I like it. I'll just refurbish it. Or maybe you can only know this if you go to the land, if you go and see that particular land. Yeah, I have those ones. Maybe you can get more and add.
Thank
Levi.
you.
That's okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so that's good. Tracy.
Good evening. I had a question relating to the old titles, the ones under the, let's say, the Government Land Act. Like, were they required to transition to the new regulatory system? Or do they still apply?
All right, thank you. Thank you for that particular question. So under the Land Act, I think it's around section 91 or thereabout, it says that they apply as they are. There's no problem. They apply as they are in this system. They are okay. But now there's something that has been happening currently. I don't know if you've been able to catch wind of it or not. There's this thing that is going on. It's called conversion of properties. So properties are being gazetted in the Kenya Gazette for conversion, meaning that probably if you had property that was given to you under the RTA or whatever, they're now being brought into a uniform format or into a uniform system. And now even if you go to Ardhisasa and whatever, you're able to have dealings with that property. And so if your property, it doesn't matter whether it was given under RTA or GLA or whatever, if it has been gazetted. Now again, you have to look at the gazettes, the Kenya Gazettes. Properties are being gazetted, I think probably, well, maybe I can't know exactly the frequency, but probably every month or after every 2 months for conversion. So if your property has been gazetted for conversion, then you have to convert it. Meaning, what happens is you will scan. Okay, you will open an Ardhisasa account. Your advocate, who I think by now all advocates have Ardhisasa accounts, then after that, you will scan that title. Your advocate will scan it on the Ardhisasa system and submit it to the registry for verification. Once they verify that that title is actually true and correct, they will give you the go-ahead for conversion. Then you will sign and agree to the conversion process. Your advocate will make an application first, then you'll sign and agree to the conversion process. Then your advocate will go with that title to the offices of the RD house, give it to the land registrar or the officers there. Of course, not just anyone they meet at the gate, but the advocates know the right place to go. Give it there. Then, because you've all signed and you've agreed that the conversion process should go forward, the land registrar will, I don't know if they ban those old titles and give new titles, or I don't know what they do to it, but what I know is you'll get a new title with a new reference, which is a uniform LR number. They are called, probably if the land is in Nairobi, it's called property title number Nairobi stroke, maybe it will be block 71 or block 1 or block 220 stroke something 87, 81. So right now, new titles are coming out after conversion with the same or with a uniform reference. There's a new geo-referencing that is going on to ensure that there's that uniformity when it comes to title. So yes, those titles exist. And if you look at the transition clauses of the Land Act, it allows them to still be titles and to still have for so long as, of course, we've also had these issues where people have letters of allotment and they're saying they have titles and they don't have titles. They have letters of allotment and everything else. So long as you have a title, you actually have a title, then that title actually still exists. What you need to do, you need to check and confirm that if this title has been gazetted for conversion, that you undertake the conversion process so that you have a new title that is uniform and that allows you to transact and to deal with it in this era that we are in. If you have an old title which was given to you under those old regimes, and this title has been gazetted for conversion and you have not converted it, yes, you have a title, fine, that's okay, but you will not be able to transfer this title. You will not be able to charge this title. You're not able to discharge any charge that was registered on this title. So you are stuck. So you must first go through conversion, get this new title, then you'll be able to do all these things. I don't know if I've talked so much or if I've answered your question. Have I answered your question, Tracy?
Yes, thank you.
Welcome. Kipcho, go ahead.
Could you please repeat the definition of requisition? I lost you at that point.
Okay, requisition. So requisitions are, so this is where you bring the objections arising after perusal and deduction of the title documents to the vendor. So remember, proof of title, what you're doing is you are looking into, you're asking me for the copies, you're asking me for my IDs, you're asking me for everything, so that you prove that I have a good title. That is what proof of title is all about. So requisition is where you've now gone through those, the way Bernard said, you've now gone through the documents, but you have questions. You have requisitions. You have questions to ask that you'd like me to answer. So this is where you bring those objections, those questions, those queries arising out of the proof of title process, so that I answer those questions. Kipto?
Thank you.
Welcome. Guys, any other question? And please, if you are here and you feel like there's something you want to add, you feel like maybe the law has changed, I don't know. There was a case that was decided yesterday in the evening, and I don't know. Please, yes?
You've actually pronounced that name correctly. For most people get it wrongly. For the issue to do with conversion, I came across something we call conversion manual. It is dated April 2021, conversion manual.
And
it talks about the issues of converting from the old titles to the new ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sawa. So if you have it, please just share it in the group so that Tracy can also just look at it to just, prize herself more. Thank you, Levi. Guys, if you've not spoken today, at least speak to us. We'd like to know you. You can say something. If you have a question, we've discussed so much. And I'm hoping that at least, yes, go ahead, John Mwangi.
Am I clear, please?
Yeah, you're clear.
So did I hear you say that the proof of title is done as per the necessary conditions of sale is supposed to happen after the signing of the contract?
Yeah, but just to correct you, I didn't say it's the act, it's the LSK conditions of sale that says that. Ben, and I think I can read it again. If you have a copy also, maybe you can just open. If you look at 6.1.1, it says within 14 days of the date of the agreement. Now, maybe interpretation would be different there, but I want to believe you, if you're talking about the date of the agreement, meaning the date of the signing of the agreement, because I don't think an agreement would have a date unless it is signed. Again, a question for another day, but it says within 14 days of the date of the agreement, the vendor shall, without cost to the purchaser, deliver to the purchaser or the purchaser's advocate, the documents that are required for proof of title. And the heading is proof of title. John?
Okay, why I'm asking this is because if it happens, supposed to happen after the signing of the agreement, I find it sort of a contradiction considered. Okay, that proof of title falls under contract inquiries, and these are also, I want to believe, falls under the same, the contract inquiries. And you see now it happens after the signing of the contract. Is it not a contradiction of sorts?
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah. So the act says, the LSA condition says that it should be done 14 days after the date of the agreement. But if you also remember, I also said that in my opinion, and I talked about having a debate with someone in relation to it. I have no problem with it being after. okay? But it's my opinion or my preference that we should have it before signing the title, so that we don't waste anyone's time. Now, it's true that the LSA conditions of sale is saying we can do it after. But the reason why I have it here is because I believe that it should be done before. Now, what the law says is what it says. Whether you'd like to waste your time and do it after, then everything falls or tumbles down and we have to go back again and start over. I think it's a choice that we have to make. But John, in my opinion, I think it should be done. It should be done at this time before signing the contract. But I get the contradiction that you're talking about. If the act says it should be done after, then why do we have it before? So the reason why I have it there is because, in my opinion, and I think even to you, maybe if you look at it, preferably, it would be important for me to know whether someone has a good title that they can pass to me before I sign the contract and waste my time than before I sign the contract. However, I also understand that there's no harm in me signing the contract, because in that contract, they've said that they have good title. They have told me they have good title. And if they don't have good title, then we just have to go through rescission. They'd have to give me back my money and we start all over again. So for me, I just have it there because I don't want to waste my time. So I don't know if that works for you, John, or maybe if for you, you'd like to have it after. But yeah, I get your question.
I'll go with you. I believe it's best when it happens before the contract, signing of the contract. Thank you.
So you can talk about it after. Personally, I talked about it. We used to discuss it with my lecturer as something that should be done before, and there was no problem. So I want to believe even them when they're marking the exams, they're like, "Oh, you're just being cautious. You're just being careful. You just don't want to waste your time." So I don't think someone would penalize you for having it in your exams as an answer, something that you're doing, because it's part of due diligence anyway. Which business do you have looking into someone's title because of due diligence? So why not do it before? So I don't think someone would penalize you just because in your answer you've put it before and not after. Okay. Thanks, John. Thanks for understanding. And thanks even for bringing that up. It shows how keen you guys are. I like that. I love it. Any other question?
Hello, Daniel, before we go to the next question, what else the conditions specify that the requisitions are done after the agreement? Then under condition 6.4, they also give the purchaser an option to rescind the contract should the vendor be able to respond sufficient to one of the requisitions so raised or conditions. So it actually acknowledges that requisitions are to be made after the agreement, though in practice it doesn't make much sense as you have put. Why would we be going into an agreement before we've even investigated or we've established that you have got a good title? Because in essence, the requisitions are for the proof of title. So then, to remedy that, the conditions provide an avenue to terminate the contract through a rescission mechanism, where if the vendor is unable to give the purchaser satisfactory response to the requisitions, then it is at the purchaser's option to rescind that contract.
Correct, Bernard. I wouldn't have said it better. Correct. Totally agree. John, your hand is still raised. Maybe you have a follow-up, or it's an old hand.
An old hand.
All right. We hope to see a new one. Okay, guys. I don't know if there's any other question. I see we have 5 minutes to go. Maybe I can just give you guys something that maybe you can look at. Please, at your free time, look at the case of Daudi Ledama versus Mary Christine and two others. Daudi Ledama, Maureen Tat, if you want the full name, versus Mary Christine Cheptangat. I hope I've also said that correctly. Correct me if I'm wrong. Daudi Ledama Morintat versus Mary Christine and two others of 2007. Then you can also look at the case of Silverbird Kenya Limited versus Junction Limited and three others. I've just given you a few cases. I don't want to give you so many cases so that you guys feel like, hey, this is too much. And please, you can just read, you can go through them when you want. The reason why I've said this is because the next thing that probably we'll look at is contractual stage. Hopefully I'll be able to take it as fast as possible. I think today we've had a lot of discussions. So I'll just try my best to create time. But I hope this one was helpful. So the next time we'll be talking about the contractual stage. And at least if you will have read these cases, I think it will be very easy for us and we'll move as fast as possible. As fast as possible. Yes, any last questions or comments? I don't want to leave anyone out. Any last questions or comments, please? I know you guys are tired, man. So I understand if there are no questions. Bernard, any last words before I close?
Well, I just want to thank everyone who made time to attend the session with us today, and yourself for organizing this session. My hope is that the session has been helpful to the students, and that we will keep on having such sessions and future engagements. Now, what I would encourage the student is that as they revise and as they even prepare for the orals, some of the cases being mentioned in this platform are part of the oral questions that they will be facing. So I would really encourage them to make time and internalize the concept, or at least understand what the case is about. Sababu, they are usually frequent questions in the orals. So nothing more from my end. I wish you all the best and look forward to interacting with you in the next sessions. Thank you, Daniel.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you so much, Bernard. Thank you for joining us, man. Means a lot. Means so much. Okay, guys. So I think that's it from our side, me and Bernard. I hope that you guys were able to learn a few things here and there. Again, just to say again, guys, if you're leaving here with anything, it's searches, you know them. You know the types of searches. That one you can't forget. And you know why official search is the best. You know. And you know why historical search is important, as Chebet said. That's one, at least let's leave here with that. And as Bernard asked someone, I think Wekesa answered correctly. At least searches is something that we know. And at least due diligence also, something that we understand why we are doing it. The parties to convincing, we know why they are there. We know their duties. We know their role. So at least, and this question of why is official search very important? The way Bernard said, it's being asked almost every time during orals. They just want to know, I mean, you're doing conversing. Do you even know what you're reading? They want to know if you're interested and if you're putting in, if you're really concentrating on, if you know what you're doing. So please, questions like those ones you just have to go home with. Those ones you just have to die with. Like, those are yours. Those are yours for the taking. Okay? So thank you guys so much for joining. Thank you for being with us in this discussion. One good thing with this discussion is that as you learn from us, we learn from you. As you learn from us, you learn from you. And also it's an opportunity for us to just interact. I mean, who knows? One day, we could meet anywhere. And at least we will have this rapport. We'll know that we knew each other, and we've had these discussions. And so as much as you are learning from us, we are also learning from you, and we love it. one encouragement, please, let's always talk. Let's just talk. Let's be free. Let's have this discussion. Let it be like, a debate, whatever. Say whatever you want. Ask whatever question you have. Let's just talk. Let's just be as free as possible. Yeah, there's a hand raised.
Good evening. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, Hilda, loud and clear.
Okay. Mine is just to say thank you to you guys for the session. It has really been informative. Yeah.
Wow, nice to hear you. At least, now we know that you're also around. And thank you so much, Hilda. Thank you so much for stepping forward and letting us know that that whatever we're doing is important to you guys. Thank you so much, Hilda. We take that very seriously. And thank you guys also. Thank you guys so much. So guys, that's it. Hilda, are you able to pray for us as we close?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, let's believe and pray. We thank you, God, for giving us this session, for enabling us to start it and to complete it. I thank you for giving us understanding and knowledge, even as we depart to do our various tasks or even sleep. We pray that you may be with us and continue guiding us and protecting us and our families to the glory and honor of your holy name. In Jesus Christ's name, I pray and believe. Amen.
Amen, guys. Good night. Sleep well. Next time when we have a discussion, please talk to us. We'd like to hear from you. Bye from us. See you next time. This recording will be